kind of trouble is society in right now compared to a decade ago, 2 decades ago? The food, the processed foods, the carbonated drinks, the alcohol, the troubles with sleep. There's so many things that affect human beings. And we see the world that we're living in, and it just seems to be so much more temptation. Like, one of the things that frustrates me about what you tell me is when you tell me to stay off sugar. I'm like, how? I mean, everything has sugar. I mean, how the hell can I step? I mean, shoot, sometimes water tastes like it got a little sugar in it, for crying out loud. I mean, I just don't. You just look at it and you just lose it, because it's like you're trying to figure out how to do it, but it seems virtually impossible. I'm wondering, as we sit here today, you reflecting on all that you know, all that you've learned, all that you continue to learn, and ultimately try to teach to the world.
Yes.
How much trouble are we in as a society health-wise compared to what it was a decade ago, 2 decades ago?
Well, a decade ago, life expectancy was still moving forward. For the first time in measurable life expectancy history, our life expectancy is getting shorter. The United States is the #1 spender in healthcare worldwide. We spend about $4.5 trillion a year on healthcare. We lead the world in 5 things. We lead the world in having the lowest life expectancy at birth. We lead the world in infant mortality. We lead the world in maternal mortality. We lead the world in type 2 diabetes and obesity. And we lead the world in chronic multiple disease conditions. So meaning the highest number of chronic diseases in a single body. And we are ranked 32nd in the world in life expectancy, 39th in healthcare delivery. So we know the spending does not equate to outcomes. Medical error is the 3rd leading cause of death in this country. It only trails cardiovascular disease and cancer. That's a 2016 study by Johns Hopkins. So we have to become citizen scientists. We have to take our health care into our own hands. And I am not saying if you hit a windshield and cut your face, you got to go to the doctor. If you get pain going down the left side of your body, you need to go to the ER. What I am saying is, if you want to be in a state of optimal health, it is up to you, because the medical system is not going to do that. And so I developed a couple of simple rules. And one of them is that we should think about putting this invisible fence around our bodies, and we should filter things before they get to the temple, rather than allowing our temple to be the filter.
Okay.
Certainly we should filter our tap water. If you want to know the filter that I use, I put it right up on my Instagram. If you want to know any of the supplements or products I use, some of them I have affiliations with, some I don't. They're all on my Instagram. But the point being that we should be filtering our water. We should be eating whole foods. It's not keto, paleo, raw food, vegan, vegetarian, pescatarian. It is whole foods. The problem now with most of the food that we eat is not the food that we're eating; it's the distance from the food to the table. Right? We take a seed oil, like a canola oil, which, you know, if you press certain seed oil plants, I mean they're harmless. But then we take that seed oil and we degum it with, and it comes out gummy, and we degum it with hexane, a known neurotoxin. Then we heat it to 405 degrees and we turn it rancid. And then we deodorize it with sodium hydroxide, which is a known carcinogen. And then we bottle it and we put it on the shelf. And we feed this to the public. The amount of pesticide, herbicide, insecticide, glyphosates, and preservatives that are in our food are not recognized by the body. You know, if your great-grandmother wouldn't recognize it, you probably shouldn't eat it. And so I want to try to teach people simple ways. I did this thing on my Instagram and social media. I call it lateral shifts, where I will take any food that anyone likes to eat and make them 2 promises. They open their refrigerator. I do it live. They open their refrigerator, and I'll take any food that they like to eat, and I'll make them 2 promises. Number 1, I won't change the flavor profile. And number 2, I will not add a penny to the budget. I am allowed to make it less expensive, but not allowed to make it more expensive, to show people that you can take these lateral shifts from eating these highly processed foods. You can exchange it for whole foods, more nutrient-dense foods. You don't have to be, it's not about fear-mongering. It's about awareness. It's about education, and it's about understanding that you can go into the grocery store, shop the perimeter of the grocery store, get everything that you need that's not processed, that doesn't have all the folic acids and the fortified and enriched flours and things like that, and you can materially change the trajectory of your life by making some very, very simple choices.
But isn't it as simple as you make it sound because you're so knowledgeable, it might sound significantly more complicated to somebody who doesn't know any better. And one who is also inclined to listen to a medical profession where we've already conceded the money's in the medicine. I mean, how do you combat that if you're just a regular old Joe, or Sue, trying to make trying to make an honest living, trying to live a good life, and you're dependent on the easiest path to prosperity because life is just so complicated when you bring all those other things into the equation.
Well, you've got to become a citizen scientist. You have to educate yourself. If not, you will eventually pay the price. I mean, and so it depends on what your priorities are. And when I ask the majority of the people where health and wellness is in their priority, they always tell me it's at the top. Well, then where are you spending your time? What are you reading? What are you educating yourself on? If I gave you a book on yourself, would you even read it? And why do you have more information on your business than you have on your own temple? And the basics are you start with a gene test and supplement for deficiency. And then eventually you work your way to getting some information from blood work. Look at your hormone balance, your nutrient deficiencies, and your blood sugar control. Just start there. You get those pieces of data, you will materially change the trajectory of your life. And your primary care doctor can do that for you. Maybe not the gene test, but your primary care doctor can do everything else.
We're sitting here in your, I don't even know what to call this. I'm not going to tell the audience, but it's immaculate.
Thank you.
You got some property here. You got a wonderful wife.
I've been very blessed.
You got wonderful kids.
Greatest
you got a
blessing on
lot
earth.
going on for yourself. I got a couple of people here. One's married. He's his nose wide open. He's in love with his wife. He don't know what to do with himself. Okay. I got another dude he is about to get married. He proposed to his girl, and he was the one crying. He was the one crying, not her. I mean, you can't make this up. I would say happiness, peace. That goes a long way towards making yourself healthy.
Amen.
Is that an exaggeration? Is that accurate? What can you tell me about that?
So think about this. When you look at the blue zone research around the world, right, and you look at blue zone research is where they did the longest life expectancies on Earth, the centenarians and the hypercentenarians. What you found was not a lot of commonality between the diets, right? You had the Mediterranean diet. You had people that ate high carbohydrate diets, like in Sardinia. You had people like in Singapore that actually eat high volumes of meat, high meat and saturated fat, and you have this prolonged life expectancy. There were some common themes that ran through all of these, and two of them were, number one was mobility until late in life. Sitting is the new smoking. Sedentary lifestyle is the leading cause of all-cause mortality. Sitting is the new smoking.
Sitting is as bad as smoking.
Sitting is worse than smoking.
Why am I not dead? I have to sit down on this show.
Lifestyle.
I got to sit down for first take. I mean, how am I? What?
Because you move your ass. You get in the gym every day.
Oh, that's true.
But I'm saying, the sedentary lifestyle is the leading cause of all-cause mortality. And, we are just not moving anymore. We don't even have to move to get food, right? I mean, you got Uber Eats, you got Instacart. And so, the happiness, if you were to ask me, Gary, what is happiness? What is emotion? What is a mood? Well, it's a collection of neurotransmitters bound to oxygen. So when you deprive the blood of oxygen, you actually deprive your body's ability to access certain moods. The reason why nobody has ever woken up laughing. No human being has ever woken up laughing. The reason why no human being has ever woken up laughing is you don't have the oxidative state to experience laughter. But can you wake up angry? Yes, because anger that emotional state does not require oxygen, doesn't require a high oxidative state in the body. So if you want to experience the upper range of emotion, passion, elation, joy, arousal, libido, all the hell yeah, I won the lottery kind of emotions, you got to get oxygen into your body. You got to get blood flow to the brain so you can actually experience those emotional states. So when you say happiness, yes, happiness can be getting married, happiness can be getting a new car or a new boat or moving into the house of your dreams, but happiness comes from your physiology. Happiness comes from having a purpose, and happiness comes from having the right nutrients in the body so you can make neurotransmitters to experience that mood. You know, it's interesting, you know, serotonin, which is the main driver of emotion, this neurotransmitter serotonin. Do you know what we make it from?
What?
We make it from an amino acid called tryptophan. So is it possible that a simple deficiency in tryptophan, an amino acid, could cause a deficiency in this neurotransmitter? Yes. This is what I mean about nutrients missing from the human body. Do you know how many times I saw people walk into their primary care doctor with a clinical deficiency in vitamin D3, and without even doing the proper testing, the doctor goes, you know what, Stephen, you've got rheumatoid arthritis. And why would he say that? Because the symptoms of rheumatoid arthritis very often mimic the symptoms of clinical deficiency in vitamin D3. All you have is a nutrient deficiency. Now you're diagnosed with a disease. You know what happens once you're diagnosed with that disease? They put you on something called a corticosteroid. And you know what a corticosteroid does? Initially, it causes a reduction of inflammation, but then it eats the joint like a termite. And now 6 years later, you're having a joint replacement. And as soon as you have the joint replacement, you don't ambulate as well. You're not as mobile. And as soon as you reduce mobility, you start to bring in all the diseases that exacerbate with reduced mobility. So if you run this back, you died of a disease that you never should have had because of a surgery that wasn't required, because of medication that you did not need, because of a disease that you didn't have. You had a nutrient deficiency. And this is what I mean. We are not as sick or pathological as we think. We are nutrient deficient.